Okay, welcome. Welcome to our Endgame class. And even though it sounds like I'm kidding, because occasionally I'm kidding, there's 6 people in this class. You can't see them. And I added all of their ages up, all 6, and it was the same as me. We're both 48. So there's 2 8-year-olds, 2 7-year-olds, and 2 9-year-olds. Also, if you add all their ratings up, I'm much higher, because I can't do math very well. Okay, so not only are we going to talk about endgames today, but it's going to be the strangest class you've ever had, mainly because I'm teaching it. Because every endgame we looked at was played today.
That's impossible.
Yeah, and not only that, if you're at home, that means it was played like, 7 weeks ago, because these videos are never going to get published. Okay, and we're talking about the tournament. Where's the tournament being played that has all the super GMs? Anybody know?
Super Nationals?
No, the World Cup, the World Cup.
The World Cup has 2 people in it. So we need more than 2 people. The World Cup has Aronian and Ding, or if you're at home, the World Cup ended 7 weeks ago. What?
Bill?
Bill?
Boo!
What about Boo? What about him?
Wasn't he in the World Cup?
Yeah, everybody was in the World Cup. It's a knockout tournament, so they got knocked out. Boo got knocked out.
With the hammer.
Yeah, he lost to Aronian.
Boo, really?
Yeah, and then he cried afterwards and said, boo-hoo.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm not sure if Aronian knocked him out. I don't think Aronian did knock him out. I think it was somebody else. It was so long ago, I forgot. Right? Could have been him. Okay, so we're talking, of course, about Isle of Man, which is sponsored by Chess.com.
What?
Yeah, it's a tournament. There's a lot of islands in England because nobody wants to go to England because it's so terrible. So they go to an island and they try to hide. Like Isle of Man, Isle of Wight. Those are real islands. And they're like, nobody will find me here. It's an island. Okay? So Isle of Wight has a tournament with like 75 grandmasters. And most of the grandmasters you heard of are the best players in the world. Okay, let's have a look. This was board 1. You heard of these guys. Magnus Carlsen, you heard of him, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, this will surprise you because it sounds like I'm kidding, because I'm usually kidding. The guy he's playing is Rustam Kazimjanov. So you know he's good at chess because his name's Kazimjanov. Okay, he's from your favorite country.
China?
Uzbekistan. Okay, they're very confused because they're children.
What the heck?
No talking. However, he coaches another good player, and you heard of that player, Fabiano Caruana.
Oh, I
He works with Caruana. Anyway, Kazimjanov, even though this will surprise you, he used to be the world champion. Yeah, I'm serious. Okay, I'll explain why. So, many years ago, Kasparov was the world champion, right?
Yep.
And Kasparov went, "Rawr, I'm mad." And FIDE, they're the organization, they said, "Rawr, we're mad." Okay? So then, Kasparov was supposed to play short. That's a grandmaster. Nigel Short?
Yeah.
Okay. And FIDE said, "Hey, you 2 guys, you play over there in that country, and this is the prize fund." And Short and Kasparov said, "No, we're going to play in this country, and this is the prize fund." And FIDE said, "No." And Kasparov and Short said, "Yeah." So Kasparov and Short did what they wanted to, and Kasparov won the match. And FIDE said, "That match doesn't count. You guys are forfeited. You're not the world champion anymore." And Kasparov said, "I'm the world champion. I'm Kasparov." Okay, you got all that? So then FIDE had the world championships without Kasparov. They kicked him out. One of the world champions was Kazimjanov. He won one of the world champions, if you know what I mean. Then, many years later, they reunited. And now there's only one world champion.
Carlsen?
Magnus Carlsen. Everybody agrees he's the world champion. Okay, this game was played today. Okay?
Wow.
And in this position, Kazimjanov played rook takes d2. Notice it's a rook and pawn endgame, because this is an endgame class.
Yeah.
And it's equal material. Okay? Now, in this position, one side has an advantage. We're going to actually vote. Okay? You can vote that white has the advantage, or you can vote black has the advantage. Right? Now, whose turn is it? Let's find out. White just played rook takes d2, so it's black's turn. Okay, then we're going to talk about who has the advantage and why. Who says white has the advantage, and who says black has the advantage? Okay, and the one abstention. Okay, so the class is correct. 3-2, black has the advantage. Now, what most people do, like you at home, you already know the result of the game and you saw Grandmaster Analysis, so you cheated. But they didn't. They're like, who's Carlsen? Who's Kazimjanov? Who am I? Who are you? What room is this? What world am I in? So they're just guessing. Right, Evelyn? Yeah. Evelyn didn't know because she doesn't know she's Evelyn. Okay, right, Evelyn?
I know I'm Evelyn.
You are? Well, who am I? Exactly. Okay.
Ben Finegold.
Right. Now the reason black is better, some of you probably thought black was better because you're like Magnus Carlsen, he's better. Okay, the reason black is better is black has a passed pawn, and because of the en passant rule, this pawn stops these two pawns. Those pawns can't move. And if white says, I'm going to win this pawn, then black's going to move his king up. And if white moves his king up, then he's going to not have a passed pawn and black will. Normally, when you have a disadvantage, you're worse, you want to trade pawns. Okay, so white wants to trade pawns. Black obviously played what move? There's only one move you can play here, otherwise you're fired. You.
King F7.
King F7, like Magnus Carlsen. Yeah, move your king up in the ending. Now, if white moves his king up and black moves his king up, black's going to move his king up more because black started first. And white was like, I have an idea. I'll take all of black's pawns. That's a good idea, right?
Yeah.
So what move did white play? What obvious move to take all of black's pawns? Archer.
Rook C4.
Yeah. And then Carlsen's like, I'm going to move my king up. And then Kazimjanov's like, yay, I'm a pawn ahead. And the arbiter came and he said, you guys got to be quiet. Right? Keep talking. Okay, now what brilliant move did black play to win his pawn back?
Wait.
You're like, that's a tough one. Yeah.
Rook B5.
Does that win your pawn back?
Never mind.
What does Evelyn think?
Rook C2.
Rook C2. I don't think that wins your pawn back, does it? I'll move my pawn. I'll defend it.
Oh, Rook C1 check. Rook C1.
Yeah, he played Rook C2. He tricked you. Right. Rook C1 check wins the pawn back. That's what most people would play. And then, this is probably a draw because we each have a passed pawn and we both have our kings on the third rank. So that's a normal move. Magnus Carlsen, he said, I want to win, I don't want to draw. So he played Rook C2. He said, it's okay, you can be a pawn up because your king can't get off the back rank. That's more important. And I'll just queen my pawn and you can't stop me. Okay, and Kazimjanov played King G1. He said, no, I'm going to get my king over here so you don't queen. Okay, and Carlsen took the pawn. Yeah. Now he played Rook H4. The engine doesn't necessarily play this move, but I like this move a lot. Because, as I told you, when you're worse, you want to trade all the pawns off. What two moves can black make that don't trade the pawns? How does black save his pawn? There's two answers. Yeah?
H5.
H5, what's the other answer?
Rook B7.
Right. Now, if I was black and I was playing a blitz game, I would play H5 without thinking. Because if I play Rook B7, then white's king moves up. Right? But Carlsen played Rook B7.
What?
Good, let's find out why. After H5, what obvious move will white play to trade all the pawns off?
G4.
G4. And we can't pin the pawn. Darn. Because that silly pawn is there. So black has to take, right? Can't lose a pawn. Man, this looks like really a draw. Two pawns each? There's no pawns left. And Magnus Carlsen's pretty smart. He said, I want to win. I have to keep all the pawns on the board. So he played Rook B7. King F2. White gets his king up. King D6. Black's going to get his king around. See, there we go. Now, whose king is better, white or black?
Black.
Black. Black's king's on the 4th rank, white's king's on the 3rd rank. Okay, king d3. Check. Takes.
No.
Takes. 2 pawns each. Who's better, white or black? Explain why. Yes.
Black because he has a passed pawn.
Right, give me one more reason.
And white's king can't go past the 3rd rank.
Yeah, white's king is stuck and black's king can move everywhere and black has a passed pawn. That's why black's better. However, there's very few pawns on the board, so it's hard to win. Okay, king c4, he checked him, and he attacked the g-pawn. Check. Now the engine wants to go back, and Kazimjanov, he's a person.
So you play King B3.
Yeah, he's like, I don't want to go back. I want to go up. They play king b3, that's good too. Yeah, now it's 1 pawn each. Kazimjanov was pretty happy, get all the pawns off the board. Okay, and then he pushed his passed pawn. Wow. Everybody has a passed pawn. Now he played a funny move. He gave his pawn away. Okay, and Carlsen didn't take it. Because then I check you. Now what do you do?
I
think it's
Well, if you move your king to d2 or e2, I go take your pawn. So if you go here, then this is a known draw. In fact, what's that called when the rook is here? We have a name for that kind of thing.
cutoff.
Yeah, but there's actually a person's name it's named after.
Cut
You probably never heard of him. Philidor. It's the
Oh, I
Philidor
know
position.
him.
So Carlsen didn't take the pawn. He moved his king here. He wants to make a queen. Then he played rook h1, and Carlsen played check. If he plays here, then I can play king c3, and you're never going to make a queen because I stopped you.
Draw.
And if you take, I'm going to take your pawn. Aw.
Then it's draw.
Yeah. So Carlsen's trying to win. He played check, and he took, and he just kept getting checked. And now we have the Philidor position. That's the Philidor position. That's a draw because white goes here, and here, and here, and here, and here, and here, and black can't move his king up. So what does black have to do to try to win? Yeah.
D3.
D3, then I go here, and I check you forever. Because you can't hide. If I went here right away, then your king could hide. Okay, but if the pawn goes to d3, then your king can't hide. Okay, so Carlsen played rook b2, and then he moved his rook around. That wasn't too exciting, was it? Okay, then they agreed to a draw, because they both know this is a draw. So that was very good defense. And if I may I?
Yes. Yes.
no.
Normally, older people like me, when we're worse and we have a bad position, we defend well. Usually little kids, they just move instantly and lose. Okay, so if Magnus was playing one of you, he might have won, but his opponent's really old. Okay, I mean, when I say really old, he's not as old as me, but he's pretty old. So he's good at rook and pawn endgames. So he knew how to defend. The big difference between a strong grandmaster and somebody who's not so good is they defend good. You guys are really good when you're checkmating your opponent and you're 5 pieces up. Then you guys are great, right?
Yeah.
What about when you have the worst position you're defending? You guys are like, no, I hate that. I like doing that because I'm old. Then my opponents are like, my opponent keeps defending. That's not fair. Why can't he blunder already? Right? So Kazimjanov is good at defending, and even though his opponent was the world champion, he still drew. Now let's go to the beginning, okay, where we started. This is where we started. Okay? Let's turn the engine on now. Okay, that's the engine. Who's better, white or black? Black. See, 0.3, 0.2, 0.4. And then, notice the number 1 move, rook d4, that's what he played. Then the number 1 move, rook a4. Then the number 1 move, rook c2. Boy, those guys are pretty good, right? What's the number 1 move?
King g1.
That's what he played. Why those guys always play the number 1 move? That's not very nice. How are you supposed to beat them if they do that? Every move they play, the computer says is the best move,
You
right?
have to outsmart them.
And then look at the evaluation, it says a draw. So that was good. White traded all the pawns off, and Carlsen didn't want to trade all the pawns off, so then Kazimjanov got his king okay. Okay, and then king d6 is the best move. Every move is the best move. And it always says it's a draw. So even though Magnus had an advantage when it started, the guy defended really well, and he drew anyway. Okay, he took this pawn, then he tried to take this pawn, then he took all the pawns. Rawr. That's pretty good. Okay, now another ending, which was very sad. Okay, and you live in America, right? And you were born in America.
I wasn't. Oh, I was.
What?
I was born in my...
Are you sure?
Yes.
It seemed like he's unclear about the, yeah. Okay, now, most people, for whatever reason, when they see their country person playing somebody else, hey, stop, look this way. When they see their country person, they root for them. So like, if an American is playing somebody from Uzbekistan, you've never heard of Uzbekistan, so you're like, go America. Okay, well that's what happened in this game. There's actually a very long story, because I like stories.
Yay.
Okay, black is a player you never heard of, James Tarjan, and white is a German grandmaster you never heard of. Now, James Tarjan was about 40 years old. No, he was about 30 years old. And he was one of the best players in the United States. And he won a gold medal in the Olympics. And he was the US champion. And then he said, there's not a lot of money in chess. I quit. I'm going to become a librarian.
What?
So for 30 years, he was a librarian and he didn't play any chess. Then he retired. So when he was 62 years old, he says, I haven't played chess in 30 years. Let's play chess again. Okay? So he played chess and they said, wow, you're old. You know what school he went to?
Old school.
Old school, right? So all these grandmasters are 20 years old and 30 years old and he's 62 years old, right? And he didn't play chess for 30 years. He's like, let's play chess again. So he's playing chess, he's okay. His rating is 2,400. That's pretty good, right?
Wow.
No.
When he was a grandmaster, he was about 2,600, but that was 30 years ago. He's old now and tired. Okay, yesterday, you paid attention? He played somebody you heard of. And you haven't heard of anybody. That's how famous they are.
Levonorodian.
Yeah, right, he's like that famous. He played Vladimir Kramnik. Who's heard of Kramnik? Like half the class raised their hand. Kramnik was the world champion a few years ago. He played Anand for the world championship, and he lost. And he beat Kasparov in a world championship match. And Kramnik is 2,800. That's pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Kramnik played this guy who didn't play for 30 years, right? Who's 65 years old. You understand?
You said 62.
Yeah, but that was 3 years ago when he came back. Now he's 65. Pay attention. And then the American guy won. He beat Kramnik. So Kramnik is the third highest rated player in the world, and this guy was 1,000,000 years old and he beat Kramnik. People were like, wow. They couldn't believe it. Today, this is today's game, he played a German grandmaster, and we're going to see what happened. But no crying. Well, a little crying. In this position, who has the advantage, white or black? Raise your hand and tell me why. You in this corner pocket over there.
Black.
Okay, he didn't tell me why, he just said black. You.
Black because he has pieces that are attacking and he's activated all of them.
Yeah, black has better pieces. You.
And a white has double pawns.
Right. Okay, so the computer says it's about equal because even though black has advantages, white has 2 pawns and black has 1 pawn. 2 is more than 1.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it probably should be a draw. Let's have a look. He played H5. That's a really good move because these pawns are all on dark squares and black wants to keep them there so that they can't move, and then this bishop isn't as good. So that H5 I like. Rook there attacking this pawn. Good move, right?
Yeah.
A5 defending his pawn. Bishop G5 attacking the rook. Then he moved the rook. See, these guys are good, aren't they?
Yeah.
Okay, rook C1 activating his rook. Bishop D4. Ooh, that's mean, isn't it? Isn't that a mean move? King G2 getting out of the meanness. If he didn't do that, maybe black would play rook takes G3 check and you guys would be happy. Right?
Yeah.
That's the kind of move kids like. Okay, so then he played F6 attacking the bishop.
Go away.
And the bishop went away. And he played rook here. Okay, now everybody went crazy. Okay, and the reason is they were in time trouble. White played bishop H6, confusing the audience.
Oh.
That's a bad move, but it's tricky. Okay, and obviously, if you take it, that's good for white. See how tricky he is? Okay, and if you don't take it, then rook takes G7 check.
Mate.
So you thought that guy was terrible, but he's pretty good. That German guy. Okay, so now black made a mistake, but black's mistake is winning. But he has a move that's more winning. Okay, he played rook F2 check, which is correct. Wait, all this nonsense I have to delete. Nonsense. Okay, now in this position, black played the second best move. Let's raise your hand and see who can find the best move. Let's see if you're better than a grandmaster.
Best move.
Rook F3. Wait, what? Rook F3.
Which
Which rook?
Well, I mean, I'm gonna play rook takes pawn check and then rook c8 checkmate. So probably that's not good, right? You,
F5?
f5 is the best move, and the computer says black's winning because he defends his pawn, right? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so the computer likes f5 a lot and says black's winning. Black played the second best move, which is really hard to find. King h7.
Oh, yeah, I get that.
Yeah, because now if you take this, I take your bishop.
Now I take a bishop.
So what did white do?
Take with the bishop.
Take with the bishop. And what did black do?
Rook to
He doesn't want to be in all this mess over here.
king g6.
King g6, yeah. And the computer says black has a really big advantage, maybe winning. Close. Because as you guys pointed out earlier, those are pretty active pieces. What if he plays rook d2 and mate? What if he plays bishop e5 and mate? What if he takes all these pawns? Okay, so black has the advantage. If two supercomputers, probably black would win. Okay, they're in time trouble. He played bishop f8, always play bishop f8.
Oh, yeah.
Now, if you attack this pawn, then rook g7 check protects the pawn. Okay, so he played there, threatening mate. And he stopped it. So obviously black has the advantage. Look at those pigs on the 7th. I'm a vegetarian, so I can't look at them. And look how he's attacking this pawn, and it's mate, and my bishop is good, and my king is safe. So obviously black's better. Okay, let's see what the engine says. It says black is much better. Look at those evaluations. Okay, he played bishop e5, that's the number one move. Rook g7 check, that's the number one move. King f5, that's the number one move. Wow, they must be grandmasters. Okay, now he played bishop c5, which is not a good move, but they were in time trouble. See how he's attacking the rook? Okay, so he played rook g2, which is a mistake. Now it should be a draw. Okay, and the reason he played rook g2, he wanted to keep his rooks on the 7th rank. But he should have played rook f3. Okay, then his rooks are both good. And with his rook on f3, he stops this rook from moving away because of mate. Okay, after rook g2, the computer says it should be a draw.
Right.
Bishop to b6, attacking this pawn. a4. Bishop to c7. That was a very nice trick. Now, in this position, if black's rook was here, like he should have done, then he's going to take all these pawns, right?
Yeah.
So after bishop c7, now it should be a draw because black's not mating white anymore. Okay, and then this should be a draw. 2 rooks and 3 pawns each. And a guy that I knew once told me the most famous phrase in chess is "I was winning." That means the guy didn't win.
I won.
This is the second most famous phrase in chess. I was drawing. Just because you were winning or you were drawing, that doesn't mean you won and you drew. Sometimes you lose. The game of chess doesn't end until it ends. While it's going on, you don't say, "Oh, I was winning and I was drawing." Okay, when the game ends, then you see how you did. This position should be a draw. Let's see what the engine says. It says draw, right? Okay, and not only that, they made the time control, which most of you don't understand. Most of you like game in 30, hooray, right, Archer?
Yeah.
Okay, but this was like 40 moves in 100 minutes, then you get another half hour. So they got more time now. Okay, white played rook h7, roar, right? That looks good, right? Okay, now let's see if black has a lot of drawing moves. Yeah, every move draws. Okay, he played f5, that's one of the drawing moves. Takes. Rook f2 is one of the drawing moves. King f6, one of the drawing moves. And then he played king f7, which is okay. See how it says it's a draw, everything's a draw? Right? Okay, now in this position, it doesn't like king g6. And the reason is actually very funny. Okay, it actually says every other king move is better. And you're like, wait a minute, why is this move better than this move? The answer is actually pretty funny. Can anybody figure out why one king moves better than another?
Because if you go king g6, like the king's like blocked in on the side.
Yeah, you could get checkmated.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are like, it's the end game. I'll never get checkmated. Then they get checkmated. I'll tell you a funny story because it makes me look good. Otherwise, I wouldn't tell you. many, 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 many years ago. Wow. I'm going to say, what year is this? 2017? I'm going to say 29 years ago. 29 years ago, I was playing in a 15-minute tournament, game in 15. And I was playing the only woman you've heard of, other than Ifan. Who's the only woman in chess you heard of?
Irina Rush.
Oh, I hope they edit that out. They said Irina Krush. Irina Krush was like 3 years old 28 years ago, or 29 years ago. Or she wasn't even that old. Who?
Carissa Yip.
You think Carissa Yip was alive 29 years ago? Wow.
Yeah.
Carissa Yip's like 13. Okay, the correct answer is the greatest woman who ever played chess.
I forgot her name. I'm pretty sure
She has two other sisters too.
I'm pretty sure she's.
Everybody you've named wasn't alive when I'm telling the
I'm
story.
pretty sure it's a Chinese lady.
No?
There's someone named.
She probably didn't eat, so she was Hungary. Because she didn't eat.
Hungary.
Yeah, thank you for mispronouncing it. Okay, the correct answer is Judith Polgar. Okay, Judith Polgar was top 10 in the world, and she was over 2750, just like you, if you had all your ratings up. And I was playing Judith Polgar, and we had a double rook endgame. I had 2 rooks, and she had 2 rooks, and she was better, and she walked into mate and won, so I mated her. Then I won. Okay, so that's why King G6 is bad. As Archer pointed out, if white gets his rook to the 6th rank, see this rook over here? You see what I'm saying? Here, here. What's black going to do then? Black will go here and then checkmate. So King G6, that was the worst square to go up. And white played rook B1, and he's like, hey, I'm going to checkmate you. Oh boy. Now white has the advantage.
It's not checkmate yet.
Not yet, but he's threatening checkmate. So King G6, right, and then Rook H7 mate. Yeah. So King G6 was a bad move. Okay, he played F4. It looks like it's an attacking move, but he's just trying to get out. He's trying to escape. Okay, and he did. Check. If he takes the pawn, is that what you would do?
No.
If somebody does that and gives their pawn away, you should be suspicious.
It's a checkmate. Rook A5.
Yeah, I think you just do this, right? You just do the rolling rooks. Isn't that what you do? You see what I'm saying here?
Yeah.
Doesn't that work?
Yeah.
Right? You just checkmate. Yeah. That's funny. It's an endgame, and there's no pawns left, and you get checkmated. Now, black is a grandmaster. Did he get checkmated like that? No. He played King F6. The computer says King F5 is the best move. It says King F6 is a mistake. Then they got the rolling rooks going, and black said, hey, where'd all my pawns go? Okay, and he said, I want a pawn. I want to save my pawn. What's the only move black can make to save his pawn?
F3.
F3. He's like, I have a pass pawn too. Okay, check.
It's 2 pass pawns versus.
Yeah, 2 versus 1. Yeah, it's not fair. Yeah. And now the king is cut off. Ugh. Okay, and this rook is on the best square. See this rook? If this rook was on F1, black would move his rook back and start checking. Check, 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 check. But he can't do that. Now he doesn't have any checks. Aww. Yeah, and then he resigned, and the computer's gonna be really mad now. It's gonna say, "Rawr, white's totally winning," right? If you let the computer sit long enough, it'll announce checkmate. The computer sees really far ahead. Okay, you see how good that is?
OMG.
Yeah, well, it sees that white's gonna queen, and black's gonna give his rook away for the queen, and then he gets mated because he's down a rook. Yeah. So he resigned because his king can't get in there. Hey, what if the black king was here? Would that be a draw?
Yes.
Yeah, that would be a draw. Oh, too bad. So that was really funny, unless you were the guy who had black. He was winning, then he was drawing, and then he lost. Okay, and actually, if I may opine, can I opine?
Yeah.
Okay, have a seat. Opine means you have an opinion, and you're giving your opinion, right?
Yeah.
Usually, one of the reasons older people aren't as good as they used to be is we get tired. So when I lecture, the first 10 minutes, great. The last 10 minutes, I'm falling asleep. So when this guy's playing chess, he plays great. Then he's like, wait, I'm old. And then he gets tired. And then in the 5th hour, he doesn't play as good. You guys are like, I have a question. What's the 5th hour? Yeah. That's like when you play 7 chess games, that's the 5th hour. That was a good joke, but they didn't get it. Okay, so when grandmasters play, their games take a long time. When you guys play, your games take like 10 minutes. Okay, so this game took over 5 hours for the one game. So when it's the 5th hour, he's getting tired. Also, he beat Kramnik yesterday, so he's extra tired. Because he was so excited for beating Kramnik. Now he gets to play this guy. And to wrap up this game, I played this guy 5 years ago on the US Chess League. And I won Game of the Week. They said, wow, that game was great, here's money. And I said, that's right. Okay, then he got revenge against my American teammate. Okay.
What happened?
Exactly. Okay, now, I have a very funny story about this game. Very funny. White is an American grandmaster, Aleksandr Lenderman. Anybody heard of him?
Yes.
Okay, and black is one of the top 40 players in the world. He used to be top 20. His name's Pavel Eljanov. He's from the Ukraine. And I got to tell you a funny story. They played in the World Cup, the one you guys were talking about. It's still going on, the World Cup. Iranians playing ding. And Lenderman was going to lose that match because look at their rating difference. Almost 200 points. And then Lenderman beat him 2-0.
Wow.
What happened was, they got into an ending where Eljanov was probably winning, then he messed it up and it was a draw, and then Eljanov blundered a piece. Okay, he blundered a piece, then he resigned. Then the next game, Eljanov had to win, he didn't play well, he got crushed. So now, he lost to Lenderman, and now he plays Lenderman again 2 weeks later, now he gets his revenge. He's like, oh, this guy beat me 2-0, and I'm 200 points higher rated. I'm going to show him, except for one thing.
It's a draw.
He didn't show him.
It's a draw.
Yeah, not only was it a draw, Lenderman was winning. Eljanov was lucky. Okay, now if you're good at counting pawns, who's winning this position? White or black?
White.
White has an extra pawn. However, in a very strange happenstance, white has no passed pawns and black has a passed pawn.
Yeah, I know.
Shocking. Okay, now, when you guys play chess, you're always like, rawr. And when grandmasters play chess, they go, I hate getting checkmated. So based on all that craziness I just said, what move did black play here?
Black.
Rook A.
Queen before.
What does rook a8 and queen b4 do with not getting checkmated? I just said grandmasters don't like to get checkmated.
H6.
H6, except you still get checkmated because I'm covering H7.
G6.
So he played G6. Now you know why. He doesn't want to get checkmated. Okay. Now, Lenderman played a really good move. You guys wouldn't play it. It's a really good move. And it's a sacrifice. Because as I said earlier, you weren't listening, but now you're going to listen. I said, black has a passed pawn and white doesn't. And Lenderman said, I want a passed pawn. Wah.
C5.
C5. That was a good move too. The computer's like, good move. So if you take everything, let's take everything.
Bang.
I recommend having white here, right? Eljanov's like, dude, I'm 2,700, I'm not doing that. So Eljanov took with a pawn, and Lenderman said, ooh, I have a passed pawn now. B6. Okay, and the computer says, hooray for white. It says white's gonna win. It likes what he did. And after this, it doesn't like his next move. It says his next move is bad. And Lenderman threw away the win here. And the next move is very hard to find. Okay, and the reason is, black wants to go, rawr, right? And so, you're not gonna make a move that lets black do that with tempo, but actually you should. The winning move here is queen to d3, with the idea of rook to d7. And if you play c4, the obvious move, I play queen d4, play c3, I play rook d7.
Yeah.
And if you queen your pawn, your pawn's gone.
So we just.
So I mean, you just lost your passed pawn. That's no good. Okay, and if you move your queen somewhere, then b7 attacks your rook, and your rook's defending your pawn, and I'm back rank mating you again. So the computer says white's winning after queen d3. Queen d3 is a very hard move to find because you don't want to let the guy play c4. So he played queen d2 because he wants to play this like I said, and he wants to take the pawn. Unfortunately, I play rook b8 attacking your pawn. Aww. That's too bad.
Too bad. It's
Okay, if the queen was here on d3, and this, let's go back. If he played the right move, and then black played here, the engine says white's winning with rook to d7. Yeah, and then I'm gonna go here. Isn't chess easy? Okay, but in the game, he played queen to d2, and now if he plays rook to d7, I can play queen e4. Isn't the queen good in the center? Say yeah. And I stop b7. Aww. And it's a draw. The computer says perpetual check. Roar. Right? And if I don't like perpetual check, I can play this move and draw too. Okay, so that was a big difference, was controlling the e4 square. That's why in this position, he should have played queen d3, stopping queen e4. But he played queen d2, and now it's a draw. Now, white made the obvious move, which takes a pawn and defends his pawn.
Queen cross a5.
Yeah. And then black did a fork.
Black fork. Did he make a fork?
Yeah, I wonder what he did. I wish I was good like you guys. How did he fork? Oh, I know. He must have attacked this loose piece and something else. Wow, these look pretty well defended.
Rook e6.
Must have been this. What's that?
Rook e6. I mean queen e6.
Queen e6. Yeah, he's attacking this and this. Okay, so he took, and they got to this endgame. And normally, in this position, if you had black, you would play h5, stopping white from moving his pawns up. So white played what move? Recommended by Matt Larson.
g4.
G4. And this is a draw, but in Grandmaster play, often white wins. It's a hard draw, it's not easy. And we discussed this earlier, but you forgot. When you have positions and somebody's better and somebody's fighting for a draw, when the person's fighting for a draw, do you want it to be an old person or a young person fighting for the draw?
Person.
Old. When they're old, they're like, I've been fighting for a draw my whole life. They're used to it. Who's old? Lenderman or Eljanov?
Eljanov.
Eljanov. Yeah, he's like, oh, I've been defending worse positions my whole life. Okay, so he defended really good. He attacked the pawn. And we have a saying in chess, which maybe you heard before, maybe. When you're a pawn ahead or a pawn behind, and all the pawns are on the same side. You see how they're all on the same side?
Back.
Is that good for the side that's trying to win or the side that's trying to draw? Who's that good for?
The side that's trying to win. The side that's trying
Draw.
to lose. The side that's trying to draw.
Yeah, when you're trying to draw somebody, you want everything on the same side. If it's on both sides, you're like, what's he doing? Where's he queening? When it's on one side, you're like, oh, easy. It's easy to defend one thing, it's hard to defend 7 things, right? So if there were pawns over here, then white has good winning chances. The pawns are all on the same side, that's probably a draw. Okay? And then black said, I'm going to block it up, and if you want to trade pawns, that's great. And white said, okay, let's trade pawns. H4. Now we're going to vote. Ready to vote?
Yes.
You're going to vote take on H4 or don't take on H4. That was easy. So let's think about it. You should think. Thinking is good for you. It has vitamin T for think.
Really? What is vitamin T?
It's for think. Yeah. You know who invented vitamin T for think? Aretha Franklin.
Vitamin C?
No, T for think.
Then there's also vitamin F.
Class is smarter than usual. All right, ready to vote? Who votes take that pawn? Rawr. Okay, who votes don't take that pawn? Okay, let's see what he did. No, he defended it.
Yes,
and the reason is, if you take the pawn, shh. What do you think of that pawn structure there? You look over here.
Boo.
Yeah, those are 2 isolated pawns. White has no isolated pawns. Probably that's a draw. But Eljanov's like, I don't want to have any weak pawns. Okay? And then he checked him, and he went back. He's like, I want all my pawns safe. Now, Lenderman can trade pawns, or he could not trade pawns. He decided to not trade pawns, because he has more pawns. And then Eljanov's like, dude, you can't do anything. I'm just gonna chill. See how black is chilling? He's like, you can't do anything. Man, black isn't doing anything. He's good at that, right? And white moves his king up, because moving your king up is a good idea. He moved his king all the way up. Then he promoted his king to the 8th rank.
What
Now-
did he promote it to?
Exactly. Aww. Now the problem is, if you ever block with your rook, then black can play rook here and take this f pawn. So he just kept checking him, and he kept moving his king, and then what happened? They agreed to a draw. The first time Eljanov was able to draw Lenderman, even though Lenderman was close to winning. Maybe Lenderman should have won. Yeah, if we go back to this position, where are we going back to? Wow, we're going back a long way. In this position, Queen D3 would have been the winning move. Then when he plays Rook D7 and B7, black doesn't have Queen E4. You want to put your pieces in the center, but guess what? So does your opponent. So whenever you want to do anything, your opponent wants to do it, and that's why I get mad at you kids. You kids are like, I sacked my pieces and I mated him, I'm the best. And then the next game, your opponent does the same sacrifice against you and mates, and you're like, oh yeah, I didn't see that.
Whoops.
Okay, so if you want to put your pieces in the center, so does black. Black wants to play Queen E4, and white says, no, I'm going to play Queen D3. If you attack my queen's in the center, my rook's in the center, I control the center. I'm the best, right? You kids might sleep the best, but white controls the center the best, right? And also, now he makes G6 look silly, because there's mate now. And then he's going to queen his pawn, rawr. And then you turn the engine on, and then it says, hooray for white. Look at those numbers, right?
Dang.
Yeah, it says, I'm going to win, I'm the best.
Oh, snap.
Okay, so he had really good winning chances, +1, +1.5, +2, and instead he played Queen D2, and then it was a draw. Although black had to defend well, which he did. Okay, now, before we stop, I have to show you 2 important things. That way you'll beat everybody you ever play ever, except me. Okay, now let's see if you guys have a good memory. Large wager against you. Okay, what's the name of this position where white's trying to queen and black's like, no, you're not going to queen?
The Philidor.
Philidor, okay? And you might think, Philidor, who's that? Philidor was the best player in the world when he was alive in the 1700s. He was really good. And he invented an opening you heard of.
The Philidor defense.
Do you know what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And this was also the Philidor defense. Now, in the game where Tarjan resigned, the American guy who quit chess for 30 years, he almost had the other kind of position. He was on the losing end. This has a different name. Okay, in the position I showed you, the Philidor, which was in Carlsen's game, the guy who was trying to draw, his king was in front of the passed pawn. Is black's king in front of that pawn?
Yeah.
No, black's king's over here. If that king was here and black's king was in front, we get the Philidor position. This position has another name, and it's even from a longer time ago.
Wow.
It's the Lucena or Lucena position. Lucena. In this position, let's vote. You can vote white's winning or it's a draw.
Draw.
Who says white's winning? Raise your hand. Who says draw? It's always 4-2. It's always fortuitous. And the answer is the class is right.
Yes.
The ones who were right. White's winning. So we have a rule. You want your king in front of the passed pawn. It doesn't matter which side you are. If black's king is in front of the pawn, he can draw. If white's king, he can win. In fact, this is what would have happened in Tarjan's game, but he resigned. Because he knew this was a win. And the way you win is you move your king. Hey, wait a minute. What? Wait a sec. What? Wait.
You have to go rook E.
I can't move my king. I want to move my king.
Rook E1 check.
Oh, rookie one check. Okay. Now, if the king goes here, now we win easy. Oh boy, right? Okay, so the king goes here. Now, if we move our king, he checks us forever. Also known as forever ever, right? Yeah, that's, uh-oh, how do I win? He keeps checking me. Oh, he took my pawn. Okay, so what we do is we have to have a plan. When he goes check, 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 we have to block with our rook. So I don't think this is a good square for our rook, is it?
No.
So this is the right move. Okay, and then when he starts checking us and checking us and checking us, then we can block with our rook. Hooray! And Lucena figured that out almost 600 years ago. He said, oh yeah, white's winning.
Wow.
Then we can turn on the computers now. Who needs 600-year-old analysis? And it says white's winning, right?
What?
It says rook e1 check is a good move.
Okay.
Okay, and then it says rook here is a good move, rook e4, right? And then it says king f7, and then it says checkmate, right? Yeah. See, it's an easy win. Rawr, checkmate. Okay, so actually it's funny, the first game I showed you, pay attention, the Magnus Carlsen game, they agreed to a draw because it was Philidor's position. The second game I showed you, where Tarjan was winning and then drawing and then he lost, that got to Lucena's position, it would have, but he resigned first. And the third game, Lenderman was winning the queen and rook ending, but he couldn't win, and he got to a drawn rook and pawn ending, and they played forever, and he's like, okay, it's a draw. And that all happened today. Every day there's endgames, and we learn from those endgames, then we play better. In the first ending, those were the highest rated players, guess what? They played perfect every move. Yeah, Carlsen and Kazimjanov, every move was correct. Then the guys weren't so high rated, then they made some mistakes. Right? Then who's higher rated? Stop that. Who's higher rated? Stop that I said. Sit back. Who's higher rated? Eljanov or Lenderman?
Eljanov.
Eljanov, so he played better than Lenderman when he was in trouble. Usually when a 2700 is playing a 2500 and the 2500's in trouble, they lose. But when the 2700's in trouble, they fight and defend and they draw. Sometimes they win. So when you're playing somebody and you're losing, that doesn't mean you're going to lose. That means you got to try harder. Rawr! If I lost every game I was going to lose, I'd be lower rated than you. Okay? And I never lose, even when I do. Let's ask Archer, he knows me. What's the last tournament game I lost?
I don't know.
Good answer. You guys know me. Tell me the last game I lost.
Like 4 years ago?
Good answer. He said 4 years ago. Crazy answer. Okay, the last game I lost in Georgia, which is the only game I lost in Georgia, was against Gadakomsky. Okay, he was 4-time US champion, and I had the black pieces, and he beat me in the last round. Okay, if I won, I would have won $1,000. So I lost, so I got 0. The truth hurts, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and I've lost games in St. Louis to other grandmasters, but in Georgia I only lost 1 game. Now, if you ask me a different question, which is, how many games were you losing? That's a lot of games. In fact, the last tournament I played in I was losing, or 2 tournaments ago. I was down a piece, but I won anyway. So when you're losing, it doesn't mean you're going to lose, especially when you're the higher rated player. Eljanov drew easily, okay? And then Carlsen and Kazimjanov was worse, but he drew easily. He didn't care he was playing the world champion. He fought hard and defended hard. So you have to fight to win when you're winning, and don't do that. And you have to fight to draw when you're worse. Don't just give up. Okay? And in Tarjan's game with Huschenbeth, the German grandmaster, all 3 players could have won, even though there's only 2 players.
Wow.
Yeah, Huschenbeth could have won, which he did. Tarjan could have won, it could have been a draw. He had to flip a coin and it landed on its side. Right?
Wow.
Yeah. Now, for the surprise question of the day. Not surprising to you because it already happened. In the first 4 rounds of the tournament I'm telling you about, the one we're talking about, Ifan, who's the best woman in the world, from what country?
China.
China. No, the other one's retired.
Oh.
She played 4 women in the first 4 rounds.
She played what?
4 women. All of her opponents were women. Okay? In round 5, is her opponent a man or a woman? I'll give you 2 guesses.
A man.
No.
A woman.
No.
Transgender.
What? Ooh, good answer. No.
computer.
Computer transgender? No, the correct answer is she took a bye. It's the only way that she could avoid getting paired with women, that she took a bye. So round 6 we'll find out. I like taking byes, that's good. Right, so she gets to rest. You guys play 5 games in one day and you don't care. They play 1 game a day and they're tired. They're like, I need a break. 1 game a day is too many.
Super Nationals is like that.
What, 1 game a day?
Like 2 or 3 a day.
At least, right. Is that too many games or you don't care?
I don't care.
Exactly. Archer's like, can we play more? Yeah. Okay, Saturday, 5 games in one day, all slow rated. Here, game 30. Archer's like, game 30, stop foaming at the mouth, right? Yeah. Right, Evelyn? Game 30? All right, raise your hand if you've played Bug House before.
Oh, I love Bug House.
Okay, Friday night here, Bug House tournament. Right after the Blitz tournament. Now, what would Gene Wilder say in Young Frankenstein?
Gobble gobble.
Close. He would say, class is...
Dismiss.
Right. And the kids know that.